this after me. Atmanam cha Kurushreshta Krishnena Manashikshitam Jayam Gate Bhagavate Ruroda Prema Vivalaha Atmanam cha Kurushreshta Krishnena Manashikshitam Dhyanam Gate Bhagavate Ruroda Prema Vivalaha Atmanam cha Kurushreshta Krishnena Manashikshitam Dhyanam Gate Bhagavate Ruroda Prema Vivala. Okay. Kindly chant some more.
Atmanam cha Kurushreshta Krishnena Manasikshitam Jayangate Bhagavate Ruroda Prema Vipalaha
Atmanam Sakuru Shrestha Krishnena Manasikshitam Jayangate Bhagavate Ruroda Prema Vipalaha
Atmanam himself Cha also Kurushreshta O best amongst the Kurus Krishnena by Krishna Manasi sorry it's Manasa by the mind Ikshitam remembering Dhyayan thus thinking of Gate having gone Bhagavate of the devotee Ruroda cried loudly Prema Vifala overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thus understanding that he was remembered by Lord Krishna while quitting this world, Vidura began to cry loudly, overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love. Purport. Vidura was overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love when he understood that Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thought of him at the last moment. Although he thought of himself as insignificant, he was remembered by the Lord by his causeless mercy. Vidura accepted this as a great favor, and thus he cried. This crying is the last word in the progressive path of devotional service. One who can cry for the Lord in love is certainly successful in the line of devotional service. Atmanam cha Kurushreshta Krishnena Manasikshitam Jayan Gate Bhagavate Ruroda Prema Vipalaha. Understanding that he was remembered by Lord Krishna while quitting this world, Vidura began to cry loudly, overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love. Mukam Kuroti Vachanam Mandamanarite Kripatrammande Sri Gurundim Saranam. So referring to the Mahabharata, Vidura is a pure devotee with very, very, very abundant transcendental emotions that flow forth in his relationship with Krishna. So we see that when Krishna came to Indraprastha, the place of the Kuru dynasty, you hear the word Kurushreshta here. So the Kauravas, you know the story, there were one royal dynasty, but two branches or two categories, Kauravas and the Pandavas. So the Pandavas had their headquarters at Indraprastha, and the Kauravas were at the Pandavas were at Hastinapur, and the Kauravas were at Indraprastha. So, is that right? Or do I have it reversed? It's reversed, yeah, okay. Sorry. Yes, reversed. So, Kauravas at Hastinapur and Pandavas at Indraprastha. So Krishna went to Hastinapur because the trouble between these two dynasties had reached the point where war was on the horizon. War was looking inevitable. This would be the great war of Kurukshetra. So Lord Krishna, he actually wanted this war to take place because his mission, or a very notable aspect of his mission, of his descent, was to relieve the burden of the earth from the weight of so many Asuric kings and their excessive military force. So he wanted such a war that would clear the surface of the earth from so much unnecessary demoniac military forces. So he wanted this war, but at the same time he did not want his dear devotees, the Pandavas, to be remembered as having been involved in the political machinations which led to this war. He wanted the Pandavas to be remembered as those who clearly were reluctant to fight, that they tried to avoid at every step that the situation would deteriorate into violence. So therefore he came to Hastinapur to plead with Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana that just give something. This was the famous request, that just give them 5 villages, because they wanted to encroach every bit of land. They wanted the whole empire to be theirs only, and nothing at all for the Pandavas. And this is adharmic, because a Kshatriya must rule over something. That's his dharma. That's according to his nature, his religious duty. So even if it's just one village, Kshatriya must have some land, some citizens who answer to his authority. So this was Krishna's request. Just give them 5 villages, and the Pandavas will be happy, and they'll be able to do their dharma, and they won't bother you, and you can live as you like, run your great empire as you like. But Duryodhana, he was adamant. His heart was inflamed by enviousness. And he said, I will not give them so much land as the head of a needle could be driven into. This was his response. So actually, this is what Krishna wanted. But we see that every endeavor was made to try to settle this reasonably. But Duryodhana was unreasonable. And so the great war of Kurukshetra became inevitable at last. So anyway, we're speaking of Vidura. So Vidura was the counselor to Maharaj Dhritarashtra, and Vidura also, there in Hastinapur, there in the court, he was every step of the way, he was advising, do not treat the Pandavas unfairly, do not make this politics. But they did not appreciate his advice, and finally Vidura was driven out. But that was later. So while Lord Krishna was visiting Hastinapur, he went to see his dear devotee, Vidura. And here we're reading of his ecstasy, Vidura's ecstasy, after Lord Krishna left, when Vidura understood that Krishna had been thinking of him just at that moment before Krishna departed this world. So he was crying. Also when Krishna came to visit him, Vidura was so overwhelmed with transcendental ecstasy that he ordered his wife, the servants, to bring bananas. Bananas, you see even now in India, especially particularly in South India, bananas are considered very, very auspicious fruit. And when important personality visits, then he's welcomed with offerings of coconut and banana. So Vidura was doing like this. Bring banana, bring banana. And then Vidura in his ecstasy, he was peeling the bananas. And he was giving to Krishna the peels. And keeping the fruit of the banana because he was just bewildered by transcendental ecstasy. And Krishna was so satisfied. This is what's important. Krishna was satisfied by Vidura's ecstasy. Krishna doesn't need banana, but what he likes is to see the flow of ecstatic emotions from the heart of his pure devotee. So Krishna, being so satisfied with Vidura's transcendental emotions of ecstasy, he was even taking the banana peel and eating them. You see? And he was completely satisfied. So this is the nature of Sri Vidura. And Srila Prabhupada says, the crying is the last word in the progressive path of devotional service. One who can cry for the Lord in love is certainly successful in the line of devotional service. So, Western people tend to be very intellectualized. So displays of emotion are often thought of as being too sentimental. But one does cry according to one's attachment. When one is very attached to something or someone, then if we are separated from that thing, then the tendency is to cry. Or if after a long absence we again meet that object, we will cry. This is, again, according to deep attachment. So in the modern world, you see the attitude of the world today in general is to deprecate this, deprecate means to minimize it. Don't become too attached to anything. Don't cry, don't show emotions. This is also sentimentality. But in actual fact, yes, that's good advice for things of this material world. We need to become detached from that. But the heart should become attached to Krishna. And therefore it is said here that to cry for love, cry for the Lord in love is certainly successful in the line of devotional service. There is ecstasy in meeting the Lord and in being in separation from the Lord. And so if one's heart is deeply attached to the Lord, then tears will naturally follow. So certainly this is an important sign of progress in devotional service. Of course, there are sahajas who cry so easily, apparently in Krishna consciousness, but if one studies their activities, just like once Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, he was, two persons were brought before him. One was a Bengali devotee, was kind of simple very interested in Krishna consciousness. And then the other one was a person who this devotee was thinking was very, very advanced, and he had this reputation for being very, very advanced devotee. So the two of them came before Gaurkishore Das Babaji, and the one who was supposedly very advanced, he was showing symptoms of ecstasy. He was, in some kind of walking unsteadily. It's not clearly described what he was doing, but he was displaying. So I suppose also perhaps there were tears, and this and that, trembling. So when they came before Gaurkishore Das Babaji, Gaurkishore Das Babaji advised this younger fellow that if you want to make progress in Krishna consciousness, then you should immediately dissociate yourself from this rascal, the one who is showing all the ecstasies. And you should come here to Navadvip Dham and settle down and take up the chanting of the holy name, associate with real sadhus, and not be together with people like this. So yes, there are those who may show such symptoms, but imitatively, because they're not actually situated in pure devotional service at all. So that is to be rejected, yes. But again, just because there may be some person showing false symptoms, that is no reason to dismiss across the board all displays of emotions. Because in pure devotees, the display of transcendental emotions is the evidence that their heart is tightly bound to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and this is the position we all want to attain. So that we, as Prabhupada would say, always remember Krishna, never forget him. This is the ultimate rule and regulation of our process. All right then. It was not very long report, so do you have any questions? Yes?
From Maharaj, it's maybe not directly connected to this, but came to mind that it's natural that we, if somebody is acting pleasingly towards us, we greet him and like that, and if somebody is acting unpleasantly, we are not so interested about his activities, and we may say our feelings towards him like that. But it's also said, Purnasana Prabhupada, for example, in his book is mentioning that we should be also very friendly towards us, toward those persons who cannot support or support us in any way, who are not directly beneficial to us. And his point is that we should avoid this calculating mentality, that if somebody is doing something very nice, then we reward him, and if somebody is not helpful to us, then we are not interested about him. So, can you say something about this? I mean, like in practical activity.
Sounds like you said everything there is to be said about that. I don't know what more I'm supposed to say. Yeah, that's clear. The point is, devotee is a servant of Krishna and a servant of Krishna's devotees, but also a servant of all living entities. And among the offenses, the various different offenses that one may commit in devotional service, there's also the category of offenses called jiva aparad. Because we are supposed to be jiva doya, which one should be merciful to all living entities. So, what to speak of other human beings who, as you said, are not directly engaged in contributing to our personal happiness. But we should be merciful and friendly and serving them anyway. And it even goes beyond human beings to all living entities. So, as far as calculating mentality, actually, then this should be the, so to speak, the calculation or the awareness, the consciousness, that all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. And if I serve them in Krishna consciousness as a devotee, then that is greatly pleasing to Krishna. Krishna is maintaining this world, and what's going on in this world is that living entities are busy devouring one another. Generally, their attitude towards the others, each individual's attitude towards the others is actually very cruel. And Krishna is maintaining this world, and this is what's going on. So, if someone is manifesting jiva-daya, compassion, mercy to all living entities, and really trying to help them in a selfless, sincere way, then Krishna is extremely pleased by this. Anything else? Alright, and we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Suhotra Maharaj Ki
Jai.